Now further we will be talking about excess demand. We have talked about deficit demand. Now what happens in excess demand? When we say excess demand, it means aggregate demand is more than aggregate supply at the full employment level. Now the demand is more, but we cannot exceed our resources, or we cannot exceed the planned supply in accordance with the demand. Suppose now we are in the situation when we can produce 100 units with the machine. Now the demand is to produce 120 units. The demand in the economy is 120 units. Now we cannot further increase the supply in the economy. Then what will happen, students? When we talk about the excess demand, it is a situation when the aggregate demand is more than aggregate supply, corresponding to the situation of full employment. Now how it will be shown? That is our income, GDP, output, employment level. This is our ADS. When we say Y equal to AS, that is our 45-degree line of reference. Our planned employment, AD at planned employment. So what is the planned demand in the economy? Planned demand is higher. Okay, the demand is to get the 110 units, but actual demand at the full employment level is 100 units only. We can say we can produce only 100 units. This 120 units could not be produced with the given resources. So we have not to draw this line right over here because we are unable to produce it. With the given resources, we can produce only up to the aggregate demand, that is at the full employment level. We cannot go beyond the full employment level because we are not having these resources in our country to exceed the full employment level. So, when we say the excess demand, we are exceeding it right over here. This is the excess demand. This is termed as excess demand. EF is equal to excess demand. That is the vertical difference. We are going to produce 100 units only. The units produced are 100 only, but the demand that further exceeds the 100 unit is 10 more units. Like I am saying, excess demand is equal to AD at planned minus AD at full. But actually the consumers are planning, they are planning to buy 110 units. But what actually the economy can produce, they can produce only 100 units. So 10 is the excess demand. We cannot produce the units 120 or 110 right over here. We, with the given resources, we are able to produce this much only. So where the pressure would be shifting, when the demand is more and supply is less, the pressure would automatically be shifting towards the prices. The prices will higher up. So this is the situation of excess demand. Firstly, we need to explain the excess demand. Now again the causes, why the excess demand is there. Again we would be doing it with the same formula that we had done in the deficit demand. We would be writing the components. Now in the deficit demand, first 4 components, because the demand was less, the components were less. Now the first 4 components will be increasing, the rest 2 components will be decreasing. Okay, this is quite easy formula. So consumption expenditure, it will increase. Why the consumption expenditure will increase? Due to increase in propensity to consume. A very simple funda way behind it. Due to the MPC is more and MPS is less. There could be 2 reasons for the more MPC. One, that we want to overshoot, that poor are now spending to have a lifestyle like that of the rich people. That could be the reason. They want to show off. The poor also want to live the life of the rich people. How it is possible? By taking the loans. They are now taking loans. Now as we know that the middle class people who cannot afford the car, they can take the car on easy EMIs. Who cannot afford some other household gadget, so they can take it on EMI. So that's why the marginal propensity to consume is increasing due to the show off in the economy when we are not able to purchase that thing, we are going to take the loans and increasing the marginal propensity to consume. Secondly, investment expenditure is high in the economy. Earlier we had talked about the bearish economy. Now we would be talking about the bullish economy. Two types of economies are there. One is a bullish economy where the inducement to invest is more, where the producers are seeing that the excess demand would be there, the profits would be more. In the bearish economy, they are saying that there is a less inducement to invest, the profits are less in the economy, so they will not be induced to invest. So, when we say investment expenditure is more, it means that the producers are now induced to invest because they are taking the economy as a bullish economy where they are going to make more profits due to more marginal propensity to consume. Similarly, when we say government expenditure rises, now after the elections, what happens? The government has promised the people that we would be doing this, this and this. You just fulfill their promises. Now they will be doing more expenditure. To increase the welfare of the people, the government is doing more expenditure. That's why the government expenditure might rise in the economy. That's as a result, when the government expenditure will rise, we would be having more aggregate demand in the economy. Exports are more. You know, one reason behind the more export is that if we are doing export, it means that the international prices might be more than the domestic prices. If we are producing something of 100 rupees, the international price may be 110. So when the other people are getting it at 110 and in India they see that it is only of 100 rupees, so they would be exporting it from India. When the international prices are higher than the domestic prices, the export of the country will increase. When the exports will increase, it means the internal demand or the domestic demand of the country will increase, and that will lead to the higher aggregate demand, resulting in excess demand. Okay. So if we say decrease in imports, now the last 2 points which would be decreasing, imports decreased because the domestic prices are less. So why we would be importing from outside when the international prices are more and domestic prices are less? Why we would be importing? That's why we are not importing, rather we are using the domestically produced goods. As the international prices are more than the domestic prices, so we would be using the domestically produced goods, which will increase the demand. Taxes will be less if the government has reduced the taxes. It means that we would be having more disposable income in our hand. Like I have talked, there is a tax, 5% taxes. So out of the 100 rupees, I am having only the 95 rupees as a disposable income. Now the government has said for the people who are earning 100 rupees, there is no tax. So taxes are reduced. I would be having 100 rupees with me. So our disposable income would be 100 rupees that I would be spending in the economy, and there would be demand in the economy, so that would be resulting in the excess demand. So when we have to talk about the causes of excess demand, in this way we are going to learn the causes of excess demand. Fine. Now students, let's do the consequences of excess demand also. First consequence is inflationary gap. As we had talked about the deflationary gap, same is the inflationary gap. This gap, this point here, it is the inflationary gap. Inflationary gap, now we are producing 100 units. It's no way possible for us to produce 110 units because already we are on the extreme. We are already producing to the full production capacity of the country. We cannot go beyond the full production capacity. So what would happen then in the economy when we are unable to raise the production in the economy? Then the ultimate shifting will be towards the prices. When the supply is less and demand is more, the pressure will be on the prices, and that pressure will result in the inflation in the economy. Inflation means महंगाई. When the demand is more and supply is less. So this would be the inflationary gap. Excess demand will shift the pressure to the prices. Okay. Now when we talk, the second consequence is static economy. Static economy means every time, every year the GDP is same. As we cannot go the full production capacity, this year the demand is of 110 units, we are not able to produce, we have to produce 100 units only. The next year the demand will be of 120 units, then our production capacity is of 100 units, we cannot go beyond that production capacity. So when we say that when the demand is excess, then the aggregate supply that we are able to produce at the level of full employment, when the full employment situation is there, at that point when the demand increases, we are having the static economy. And minded students, the static economy is a very dangerous situation for any of the economy. You are having the demand, but you cannot raise your production, you cannot raise your profits. When I am talking about the static economy, it means that the real GDP is not increasing. Real GDP is not increasing, but nominal GDP will increase. Now both the concepts I had done in the national income, real GDP at the constant prices. Real GDP will not increase. Real GDP means that the increase will only be there when there is an increase in production of goods and services. But the goods and services are not increased. The production restrained itself to 100 units. But the nominal GDP will increase. Why the nominal GDP increase? Because the production cannot increase, but due to the excess demand, the prices will increase. And nominal GDP is measured at the current year prices. When we are having the demand of 110 units, the prices will rise. The nominal GDP will rise because nominal GDP is measured at the current year prices. It can rise both due to the increase in prices as well as increase in goods and services. Here the goods and services are not increasing, but the prices are increasing. That's why the real GDP will remain static, but the nominal GDP, which is only the monetary illusion, which leads to the rise in price, that will rise. The third consequence is excess demand and wage price spiral. When we say wage price spiral, it means that in an economy, when there is excess demand, then what will happen? In case of excess demand, the factors of production will become costly. The labor will become costly, the raw material will become costly, and all the other factors of production will become costly. Because everyone wants that I should be purchasing their factors of production and doing the production, and I would be selling it at the higher prices. So when the factors of production becomes costly, we are talking about the labor, the wages will be shooting up. Due to the rise in wages, what will happen? The cost of production will rise, and that product will be sold at the higher price. More cost of production means that the prices will shoot up. At the higher price, when the things are sold in the economy at the higher prices, there is a situation of inflation. Due to the inflation, again the labor will ask for more wages. Due to the more wages, again the cost of production will rise. Again the prices will rise, and this becomes a spiral. Like we are saying that vicious circle of poverty. This is a vicious circle of wage price spiral where the wages catches prices. Due to the increase in wages, the prices are more, and prices catches wages. Due to the more prices, the labor will demand more wages. Okay? Wages catch prices and prices catch wages. So this is the wage price spiral, that is the worst consequence of the excess demand in any economy. Loss of profits are there due to the unfulfilled demand. The demand will remain unfulfilled. Like for example, someone comes to your shop to ask for some product and you are not having that product. It means that you lose your profit that you have earned by selling that product. So when the loss of profits are there, and now what happens, student? Now the producers cannot produce They cannot plan for the further production because already they are on the level of the highest production, or we are already on the level of the full employment. So we cannot produce more and reduce our losses. So these are the consequences where we say that static economy would be there, the inflationary spiral will be there, the loss of profits will be there. In this way, when the question of excess demand will come, you have to learn these three points. These excess demand and deficient demand are related to each other, only we have to reciprocal on these. Today we are continuing with our chapter excess demand and deficient demand. So we had done the problems of excess and deficient demand, where you have understood what we mean by inflationary gap as well as what we mean by deflationary gap. Now dear students, both the situations are harmful for any of the economy. If we say that in the economy there is an inflation, it means that it is a harmful situation. If we say we are living in the situation of deflation, as these days we are having deflation, it means that that is also a very critical situation for any of the economy. Now, my point is this, that the situation of inflation as well as deflation need to be tackled in the economy. Who tackles it? Either the government could be tackling it or the RBI could be tackling it. No other agency in any of the country cannot tackle the problem of excess as well as deficit demand. So students, today our topic is measures or instruments to correct the deficit and excess demand. Today we will be studying the instruments or what measures we can adopt to correct the deficit and excess demand. Let's come again to the excess and the deficit demand, or we can say inflation, inflationary gap, or deflation, deflationary gap. When I say inflation, it means that the aggregate demand is more in the economy. The point that you have to take is that there is a lot of money circulating in the economy. How we could be combating the situation of inflation? By soaking the liquidity from the economy. We have to withdraw the money from the economy, then only the situation of inflation could be handled. If we talk about the situation of deflation or deflationary gap, it means that the aggregate demand is less in the economy. Due to the less aggregate demand, what is required? We need to inject, we need to put more and more money in the economy, so that the situation of situation of deflation could be tackled. So here students, we are going to study what instrument or what measures are used to correct the situation of deficient and excess demand, or inflationary gap and deflationary gap. First of all, we would be talking about the fiscal measures or budgetary policy. When I say fiscal measures or budgetary policy, this is the revenue and expenditure policy of the government. How the government tackle the situation of deficit and excess demand. Look students, we have already said that either the government would be combating or the RBI would be combating the situation of inflation and deflation. Here, firstly we would be talking about the budgetary policy of the government. When I talk about the budgetary policy of the government, it means that I am talking about the revenue and expenditure of the government. What is budget? It is a statement of revenue and expenditures. So when I say revenue and expenditure policy, so first of all we need to define the fiscal policy or fiscal measures. It is a policy adopted by the government to combat the situation of inflation or deflation. So dear students, our first fiscal measure is government expenditure. Government, by reducing or increasing its expenditure, can combat the situation of inflation and deflation. First of all, before seeing that whether the government is increasing the expenditure or decreasing the expenditure, we should be clear about where the government spends its money, where the government does the expenditure. Firstly, government does the expenditure on infrastructure. Infrastructure, if I am saying, it means the PWD works, public works, When I'm saying public work, it means that on building the roads, on building the bridges, on building the economic infrastructure. So that is the expenditure done by the government on building up the expenditure. Secondly, government does the expenditure on public welfare. Public welfare, where we say the government is doing the expenditure to running the schools, the government is doing the expenditure to running the hospitals, to run the public transport. So that is a welfare expenditure being done by the government. Okay, firstly infrastructure expenditure, then welfare expenditure. Then what else the government is doing? Government is doing expenditure to maintain the law and order situation in the country. To maintain law and order situation. It means that government is spending on defense. The government is purchasing the guns, the government is purchasing the aeroplanes, the government is purchasing the ships, the government is giving salaries to the policemen. So in this way the government is doing the expenditure to maintain the law and order of the country. Fourthly, the government is also providing the subsidies. That is also the expenditure of the government, that government is providing subsidies to the producers. That is also one of the welfare expenditure done by the government, that like we are saying that LPG cylinder is given to us at the subsidized rate. So who is bearing that loss? The government is making the payment on our behalf to the producer, as government is giving subsidy to us. So these type of expenditure the government is doing. Now students, inflation and deflation. In case of inflation, the government needs to suck the amount from the economy. Government needs to withdraw the money from the economy, so there would be less money with the people. They would be making the less aggregate demand, and the situation of inflation would be tackled. So what the government will be doing in inflation? If I talk inflation, firstly you have to explain that what is government expenditure. We have said that government is doing expenditure on these items. Now in case of inflation, the government will lower down the expenditure. Government will reduce its expenditure, so that when the government is making less expenditure, it means that government is making less payments, less money is circulated in the economy, and the situation of inflation would be tackled. Government is doing less expenditure, it means less money is circulated. Now the government is not spending money in the economy. So when the less money is circulated in the economy, it means that the economy, the money from the economy is withdrawn. Now the people do not have money to spend. The aggregate demand will be lowered. In case of deflation, if I talk about deflation, deflation means that there is less aggregate demand. Less aggregate demand means that now the government needs to spend more money. How the government would be spending more money? The government would be raising its expenditure. So these are the two situations handled by the government. By increasing the expenditure, the government circulates the money in the economy and tackle the situation of deflation. And by decreasing the expenditure, now what the government does? The government reduces the money supply in the economy, so that the inflation is tackled. Fine. Hope so that is clear. Now the second point we are having in the fiscal measure is the taxes. That was the expenditure policy. Now the government is also having the revenues. The government owns the revenue in the form of taxes. When I call taxes, taxes means these are the compulsory payments made by the households to the government. What are the taxes? These are the compulsory payments made by the households to the governments. So what would happen with tax? In earlier when I was talking about the causes of aggregate demand, there you have seen that taxes will either reduce the disposable income of the people or increase the disposable income of the people. Now in case of inflation, what the government is going to do? Government is going to put more taxes. More taxes means now the government wants that the less disposable income should be with the people. Less disposable income means that people are now having less income with them. Like I had taken the example of 100 rupees. If I am earning 100 rupees, out of that 100 rupees, I was giving 5 rupees tax. So 95 was available with me as a disposable income which I could spend in the economy. But if the government increases the taxes, to 10%, I am earning 100 rupees, 10% is given as tax, now only 90 rupees are left with me to be spent in the economy. It means that it reduces the aggregate demand in the economy. With the reduction of aggregate demand, inflation would be tackled. In case of deflation, what will happen? Now, the government will reduce the taxes. Reduce taxes. Suppose, in the economy I was earning 100 rupees, 95 was left with me after giving 5 rupees tax. Now the government has reduced the taxes to 2 rupees only. So 98 would be with me. 3 more rupees that I could be spending in the economy. So when we are talking about the deflation, we say the government reduces the taxes and increases the disposable income with the people. With more disposable income, they would be spending more and the problem of deflationary gap or deflation will be tackled. Now see, when we are talking about the taxes, it means that you have to be very clear with the term disposable income. Disposable income is the income left with the people after paying the taxes out of their total earnings. Out of whatsoever they had earned, out of this earning, when they are paying the tax, the rest amount left with them to be spent in the economy, that is known as the disposable income. Now after the taxes, it is the public borrowings. When I say public borrowings, it means that the government borrows from the public. How the government borrows from the public? The government gives attractive rate of interest to the public to keep their money in the banks. What the government does? The government gives attractive rate of interest to the public so that public would be keeping their money in the banks and from there the government borrows. Now, in case of inflation, inflation means that government needs to suck the liquidity. Suck the liquidity means that government needs to borrow more. How the government would be borrowing more? The government would be offering a high rate of interest. High rate of interest. By giving the high rate of interest, the government will increase the public borrowing. The government will increase the public borrowing. Public borrowing is also termed as public debt. Public DEBT debt. So this is the public borrowing. By offering the higher rates, the government induces the people to put their money in the bank so that government can borrow from there. By increasing the tax rates, the government makes the people to put their money in the economy. It means that the government is withdrawing the money from the economy to tackle the situation of inflation. Opposite will happen in case of deflation. What the government will do? The government will reduce the rate of interest so that the people would not be keeping their money in the banks, or government would be repaying the people's borrowing or the public debt. By repaying the debt, it is injecting the money in the economy. By injecting the money, it is combating the situation of deflation. How it is combating deflation? It is offering lower rate. By offering lower rate, the people are induced not to keep their money in the banks. When they are not keeping their money, or the government, we can say the government is returning their public borrowing, returning their debts, and by returning their debts, the government is injecting in the economy. Now I say borrowings from RBI. When the government see that, students, there is an inflation in the economy or the inflationary gap is more. When I say the inflationary gap is more, then what the government will be doing? Government borrows from the RBI, spends it in the economy. When the government spends it in the economy, then what will happen? More expenditure, more aggregate demand, and there would be a combating the situation of deflation. When I say in the situation of inflation, government borrows less from the RBI so that there is less expenditure in the economy. The government is doing less expenditure to deal with the situation of inflation. That is what we say borrowings. Moreover, one more point I want to add right over here. If I say borrowing from RBI, when the government borrows from RBI, it means that the less amount is left for the people to borrow from the banks. From RBI, when the government is borrowing, so it is leaving less amount with the banks to be given as the loans. But here we have to talk only about the borrowings from RBI. By borrowing from RBI, what the government does? Government spends it in the economy and deal with the situation of deflation. By borrowing less from the RBI, the government reduces its expenses, the government do not do or government do less expenditure in the economy and deals with the situation of inflation. So ultimately you need not to cram all these things. You need to be very clear what the government requires to do in case of inflation, withdrawal of money from the economy, and in case of deflation, injecting the money in the economy. So you would be making it yourself. After talking about the budgetary or the fiscal policies, now let's come for the monetary policy or the monetary instruments or monetary measures. When I say monetary measures or monetary instruments or monetary policy, it's a policy adopted by the RBI to tackle the situation of inflation or deflation. Students, these points we have already done. Monetary measures or monetary policy has already been done in our chapter banking, where we were talking about the central bank, how the central bank combated the situation of inflation and deflation. I am just going through these points. When I am talking bank rate or repo rate, what is bank rate? Bank rate or repo rate is the rate at which the RBI lends money to the commercial banks. It's the rate at which RBI lends money to the commercial banks. To go into the details, refer to the chapter money, quantitative and qualitative instruments. I'm just briefing you. So when I say bank rate or repo rate, it's the rate at which the banks, RBI give loan to the commercial bank. In case of inflation, what the RBI will do? RBI will increase the bank rate. When the RBI will increase the bank rate, then what will happen? The market rate of interest will also increase. The commercial bank had to increase the rate of interest that they have to give loan to the people. When the rate of interest is increased in the economy, it means that people will now borrow less. Less borrowings means less aggregate demand and inflation is tackled. Opposite with the deflation. When there is a situation of deflation, the government will reduce the repo rate. By reducing the repo rate, the market rate of interest is reduced. When the market rate of interest is reduced, what will happen? The loans would be available at lower rate of interest, so the people would be borrowing more. Injection of money in the economy, situation of deflation is tackled. When I talk about the reverse repo rate, the reverse repo rate is a rate at which the commercial banks parks their surplus with the RBI. Commercial banks parks their surplus with the RBI, on which the RBI pays them the rate of interest. When we are in the situation of inflation, what the RBI do? RBI will lower down the rate of repo rate. It's opposite to the bank rate. The government, RBI will lower down the repo rate. When the RBI will lower down the repo rate, what will happen? The commercial banks would not be parking the amount with the RBI, rather they would be keeping less amount, so the situation of deflation would be tackled. If I am talking about the situation of deflation and inflation, in inflation I need to put more money in the economy, I need to suck the money from the economy, and in deflation I need to put more money. If I talk about the reverse repo rate, if the reverse repo rates are decreased, by the government, it means that the government is now paying less interest, or RBI is paying less interest. When the RBI is paying less interest, it means that the banks would now be lending more money to the people to tackle the situation of deflation. And when the reverse repo rate is increased, it means that the RBI is paying more amount to the commercial banks. So commercial banks will lend less amount to the public, and more amount, it will keep more amount as a CRR or SLR with the RBI. So this is reverse repo rate. When I talk about open market operations, there are certain securities like Indira Gandhi Vikas Patra, National Savings Certificates, which the RBI is selling through post office or through commercial banks. So these are the open market operation. When the securities are sold in the market. Securities sold in the market, it means the money is sucked from the people. Securities sold in the market, it means that people are paying money to the RBI. They are purchasing the security, a piece of paper. Fine. When they are purchasing the security or the securities are sold out in the economy, then what will happen? The people are left with less money. Less money means the situation of inflation is tackled. When I say in the open market the RBI is selling the securities, it means that soaking the liquidity. When I say the RBI is purchasing back the securities, purchasing the securities means returning those piece of papers and in the form of money they are injecting in the economy or they are repaying the people. Now what the government is doing by purchasing the securities? Government is taking back that piece of paper from the people and giving them the money. So money would be circulated in the economy and the situation of deflation is tackled. After that I am talking about CRR, SLR. CRR is the cash reserve ratio. That is the amount kept aside, kept with the RBI by the commercial banks. It is a particular percentage of amount to be kept with the RBI by the commercial banks. When the commercial banks thinks the CRR should be increased, if they are increasing the CRR, by increasing the CRR, what will happen? Now the commercial banks have to keep more amount with the RBI and less amount is left to be given in the forms of loan. So what situation will be tackled? Less amount to be given to the public or less amount in the economy, inflation is tackled. When the CRR is decreased, it means that less amount now to be kept with the bank and more amount to be given to the people, situation of deflation will be delayed. Similarly, SLR. SLR means statutory liquidity ratio. When I talk about the statutory liquidity ratio, it's the amount, it's a liquid cash or we can say gold or unencumbered securities that need to be kept with the RBI by the commercial banks. So again the same treatment would be there. Then we are having margin requirement, credit rationing and moral suasion. These are the quantitative measures and these were the qualitative measures. Quantitative measures when I am talking about, these are quantitative measures. Quantitative measures means they are tackling with the quantity. And these are the qualitative measures. Qualitative measures. When I say qualitative measures means it is tackling with the quality of the loan. First of all, it is a margin requirement. Margin requirement is the difference between the security mortgage and the loan granted against it. Difference between the security mortgaged and the loan granted against it. Suppose I am mortgaging 100 crore security with the bank and in return the bank is giving me the loan of 70 crore itself. So the difference between 30 crores, that is the margin requirement. So in case of inflation, what the government do? The government increases the margin requirement. It increases it to 40 crores. It means a less loan would be provided to the people and opposite is done in case of deflation. Credit rationing. The government do rationing. Rationing means the government fixes the quotas to be given of the loans to be given to the particular sectors. Agriculture sector, this much loan is provided to the industrial sector, this much loan is to be provided to the small scale industry, this much loan is to be provided for the speculative activities, this much loan is to be provided. So government does credit rationing to give less loan for the speculative activities so that the agricultural and industrial activities should be increased in the economy. And last is the moral suasion, means the government putting the moral pressure, the RBI putting the moral pressure. You know, RBI is a regulator of all the banks. It's the apex bank which controls all the functioning of all the other banks. Now RBI instructs the commercial banks to restrict its loan, to give less and less loan in time of deflation and to make the loans liberal. Liberal means to provide more and more loan in case of deflation. So in this way the RBI controls the situations of excess demand means inflation and deficit demands means deflation. So students, these are the measures to control. Whatsoever is being asked to you, you have to answer only that points. If they are asking you the budgetary or the fiscal policy, you have to answer only the budgetary and the fiscal policy. If they are saying that explain how the government will control the situation of inflation, how the government will control, it means that you have to tell the budgetary policy, the situation of inflation. Now you need not to go for the situation of deflation. You will only be telling about the situation of inflation. If it is asked that how RBI controls the situation of deflation, so this is the way RBI is controlling. You have to tell now only for deflation, not the inflation. So in this way you are answering this question.